Time for Twins Pod. Yeah.
I want to bring up this tweet.
Okay.
Like, we're all conservative politically. And the one thing I noticed about Democrats and Republicans, they all toe this line for their party. Like, me being black, I should be a Democrat, but I don't think that way, right? So
You being a Christian should be pro-Israel.
well, typically Christians.
Yeah, Christian
I don't
conservative.
know why. It's two different religions.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But
Yeah.
you fucked me up. I want to go to this tweet you put out. You put this tweet out. Israel is a terrorist state. I like that ratio. Right? It makes sense. So
Yeah.
we tweeted it this morning.
Yeah.
And go and pull up our tweet. My ratio sucks. What the hell's going on?
Okay, get some scan-in action.
Oh, wait a minute. That ratio's getting better.
Well, it's getting better now.
Oh, man, this is like the damn election. The mail-in ballots just came in. I got my mail-in ballots coming in.
Well, we got 22 hours left.
Yeah.
You guys have you guys have a much larger following, especially on Twitter. Because I mean, you've got 10 times almost or 7 times the votes in 2 hours.
Right. So,
But I also think that you guys have a much more of a mainstream conservative, I think,
Right.
representative of the mainstream conservative, ranging from like people that were upset to COVID to people who are probably newly conservative as well.
right.
So I think you have a much actually more realistic selection of the actual population if you were to put this, out
Right.
in American demographics as a whole.
yeah, about an hour ago, it was 65-35.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the mail-in ballots, they're coming in now.
And that anti-Semitism is kicking in.
Turn on the
I-
boosters.
So I want to ask you, I want you to speak on what's going on. I want to get your take on it.
I think one of the most concerning things for me is that, that I like to ask questions.
Right.
I like to ask questions because I'm asking them myself, and because there is a platform of people who apparently at least give a shit about what I say in some capacity.
That's a great attitude to have. You're trying to learn.
Yeah. And you may say things that might be a little controversial, but that's how ideas float to the top. That's how good ideas win. That's how free speech works, right?
Exactly.
If you're offended by something and it's so horribly wrong, then tell us why.
Exactly.
So I put that out there because, I look around, and I'm not the smartest guy. I hear this in the comment section all the time, like, well, are you a geopolitical expert? And it's like, no. I'm just a dude asking questions, honestly,
Right. Right.
But I look around and I look at what's happening in American politics right now, particularly with this new conflict in the Middle East. We already have one going on in Ukraine, which I was very early when I ran for Congress. This thing was kicking off, and I remember like Dan Crenshaw started crying over something that I tweeted because he was so fixed on the Ghost of Kiev story, and I'm like, this stuff's propaganda. Like how?
Yeah.
Right.
The same mechanisms that brought you COVID propaganda and BLM propaganda bring you war propaganda, and the next thing propaganda, and the next thing. It's
Same thing with George Bush.
Exactly.
George Bush, weapons of mass destruction.
It's all the same players. The media comes up with these sensational stories, and it's just patterns.
Right.
Do you remember the days of COVID when people were dropping dead in the streets of China?
Right. Yeah,
Remember those? Like people
yeah.
were just like falling over, hitting the ground.
Yeah.
There was bodies stacked outside of New York hospitals.
Yeah,
What happened to that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they throw that. That's like the opening pitch.
Right.
And it gets everybody all anxious.
Right.
And then by the time that story is proven to be absolutely false,
Right.
you're 2 years into it. So you see that, and look at the George Floyd incidents. Oh, Derek Chauvin killed him. He killed him.
Yeah.
Oh, it just turned. 2 years later, it turns out, wow, he overdosed.
The first
He
time
overdosed.
I saw that video, I couldn't watch. I said, man, he murdered him. I fell for that trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's immune to it. Nobody's
and
immune
I
to
talked to a bunch of cops. He said, man, that shit happens all the time. You arrest somebody, they die in prison of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to George Floyd. Like, I kneeled my brother on the floor.
it. And that was hard to watch. Like
Yeah, it
I
was
remember
very hard
watching
to
that
watch.
and being like, oh my God, that's brutal.
But a man does not die laying on his chest like that.
No.
You don't. It's
But
impossible.
again, that was the opening pitch. It got everybody all scared. And then just keep going over to the next thing. And Ukraine, right? It was the Russians are invading, and then the Ukrainians are winning. You're the ghost of Kiev. And he shot down 46 fighters and
killed 30,000 Russians already.
They were sharing video game footage.
Right.
Our own politicians, people like Dan Crenshaw. I don't know if it was Dan Crenshaw, so if he hears this, don't cry about it. But there was our own politicians who were showing video game footage of a fighter jet video game saying that Ukraine's winning.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then again, now go to this Israel situation, right? Yeah. So with all three of those situations, we wind up 2 years before we can stop the damage, or we can at least stop the bleeding. Took us 2 years to get out of COVID. Took us 2 years to get out of BLM. How many billions of dollars of destruction? We're over a year in on Ukraine now because we rushed the scene. And again, here we go. We got the flying terrorists on the fans coming over the greatest military barrier in the world.
How does that happen?
And then there's Ben Shapiro with his crocodile tears and the 40 beheaded babies. And it's like you ask that question. So I asked the question. I said, 40 decapitated babies is horrible. Exactly. If that's true, there should be some serious repercussions. So let's talk about where that comes from. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah. Like, what do you? No, I just want to. How do we know? Yeah. And then he's showing burnt babies. Yeah. Remember that? Anybody remember the burnt baby that was an AI image? This is one of the people who's considered a huge conservative person leading the conservative party, and all these people who follow their content for news and information right into the next thing. And here we are again. How many billions have we spent? Yeah. The conflict is escalating. It was going to be ending real quick. We're on month 7. So you start asking questions and people get upset. But
that whole Ukraine issue, I just look at it from this point of view. The USA went back on that word about having Ukraine join NATO. Yeah. I'm looking at it from this point of view, this perspective that Putin, he's just trying to defend his borders. That's the way I look at it. I asked a guy who, he's a friend of mine, he's Ukraine. He says, so many people in Ukraine is against this war. And they said they're not on the side of Ukraine.
They're not. They're being pulled off of the streets. They're being conscripted.
Exactly.
I mean, they've slaughtered, slaughtered another generation of young men. What does that do? What are the long-term repercussions of that, right? Like, we see it, our grandfathers and great-grandfathers have been slaughtered in World War I, World War II. We lost men in the Vietnam. We every time this happens, we lose generations of our strongest men. Yeah. And we wonder why. You look around today, and we've got dudes in dresses and guys that, tuck their balls and go swimming against girls. Yeah. There are some ramifications to these things.
I don't even think he tucks.
No.
I just think he swims.
He uses it as like a little paddle, man. There's a rudder behind him.
Yeah. Do you think Israel at this point is a terrorist state?
I think killing innocent civilians and calling it a virtuous mission is absolutely ludicrous. And I think that
there's some counts that there's like 20, I think it's up to 30,000 now. Yeah. People have died in this war.
Yeah.
You know what I hate about the Israel, the whole narrative about Israel? They always refer to people that's they always intentionally misrepresent people's arguments. Like they say, oh, you're anti-Semitic. You support terrorism. I said, no, I support another Semitic people that's being killed and murdered for absolutely no reason.
I just want to know why you guys are killing how many civilians do you have to kill to defeat Hamas? Yeah. Right. How many babies have to die for you to win?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's a fair question.
Was horrible. Hamas's attack was horrible. You blew that out of the water 100 times over.
Yeah, what Israel's doing.
Exactly. So at what point, like, you have to ask the question. It's like, at what point, it's the same thing as a street fight. Mm-hmm. Right? Like some littler guy punches some big guy, right? And gets him good, and then the big guy beats him into a bloody pulp. Yeah. At what point do you pull him off?
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you just going to let him kill him?
Yeah.
I
want to show you this video about, there was some food aid workers in Israel got killed a couple days ago. And I can't even say his name.
Netanyahu.
I keep thinking of Kanye West when he was saying his name.
Net. What's up, Net?
And his response about killing these innocent aid workers who's just trying to feed people.
Details today about the 7 aid workers from World Central Kitchen who were killed by Israel's military in Gaza. All 7 victims have now been identified, including an American. The airstrikes destroyed the victims' cars on Monday in what Israel claims was a case of mistaken identity. Holly Williams has the story.
World Central Kitchen has named Jacob Flickinger, a 33-year-old dual US-Canadian citizen, as one of 7 of its team members killed by the Israeli military in Gaza. It appears their convoy of 3 cars was targeted with strikes multiple times, even though the non-profit says it was coordinating its movement with Israel's military, which called it a grave mistake.
It was a mistake that followed a misidentification at night during a war in a very complex conditions.
These people are heroes.
The US government says it's outraged by the deaths, calling on Israel to carry out a swift and impartial investigation.
We've impressed upon the Israelis the absolute imperative of doing more to protect innocent civilian lives, be they Palestinian children, women, and men, or be they aid workers.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the incident tragic and unintentional, also saying, quote, "This happens in war." Relations between the US and Israel appear increasingly strained, even though America is Israel's most important ally. Nowhere is the tension more evident than over Israel's planned offensive in Rafah in southern Gaza, where around 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering, many in tents.
That's crazy.
Israel says it needs to destroy Hamas's remaining battalions. The US is warning against an assault without a credible plan to protect civilians.
After sending hundreds of tons of...
That's enough.
That's the one they had to come clean about.
There's so many of these instances, though. Like, this is not, like, if you just Google, like, Israel strike kills civilian.
Yeah, it's not isolated.
You're going to come up with this, not only throughout this conflict, but almost every conflict.
Right.
Almost every time that they get involved in a war, there's tons of civilian deaths. And it's, you know, and I want to clarify. You asked, do I think Israel's a terrorist state? Acting like this, I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Does that mean the people, the citizens of Israel? Absolutely not. Does that mean Jewish people? Absolutely not. No less than I think that the American state acts in a terroristic manner when we went over and Obama killed what's his name in North Africa.
Right.
Or we went over and to Iraq and slaughtered 1 million citizens, civilians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody talks about that.
That doesn't mean the American people are bad people. Right. So when I say Israel is a terrorist state, I mean the functioning government, Netanyahu, and the people that are in control of that government and this government are absolutely acting as a terrorist state.
Right. That statement, bring up the Netanyahu clip. That was kind of sugar-coated, what he said. Play this. It's got captions on it.
לצערנו, ביממה האחרונה היה מקרה טרגי של פגיעה לא מכוונת של כוחותינו באנשים חפים מפשע ברצועת עזה. זה קורה במלחמה, אנחנו בודקים את זה עד תום, עומדים בקשר עם הממשלות ונעשה הכל כדי שהדבר הזה לא יישנה שוב.
Yeah. He just says just part of war.
Yes. Just killing innocent children.
Yeah, like when that hospital was bombed in Gaza, they said it was Hamas bombing their own hospital. That's what made me stop thinking, why would they do that?
And then they said, hey, we bombed it, but they was using children as shields.
Yeah, Hamas was hiding in the hospital.
Right. It's every time it's a deflection. Instead of just being honest and saying, yeah, we're going in there. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna fuck them all up.
Yeah.
Like they deflect and it's like, well, how dare you accuse me of that? How dare you accuse me of killing civilians? And it's like, you did it. And you did it last week, too. And you did it 2 months ago. And you did it. You killed your own civilians. Anybody remember that story? At the music festival, it came out weeks later that the gunmen in the helicopters gunned down dozens of people, and they don't know who.
Yeah, and I was like, how the hell did that happen? Y'all got the most securest border. How the hell did Hamas come in on hang gliders into if you got this? I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
It's fishy.
Weird.
It's no less fishy than the 9/11 story.
Mm-hmm.
The official 9/11 story. Like, we got planes hijacked that knocked down 3 towers with 2 planes. Everybody forgets about the 3rd tower at at World Trade Tower 7. We just had another building fall. Like there's all sorts of really, really legitimate questions, but you're crazy for asking. You love terrorism for asking.
You're anti-Semitic.
You support hummus. You're anti-Semitic. You know,
and you're crazy.
And you're a conspiracy
and you're a leftist. You know, that's like the newest comment on my Instagram. Oh, you turned leftist. Yeah, I turned leftist, dude. Like, all right. Like you fucking sat home and wore a mask while I got my dick beat in. You know, fighting for you, and I'm a leftist. Like, you complied with everything. Shut up. Like, all you did was vote for Trump. Like,
that's all they do.
But that's a majority of some of the people who are on our side. And as much as that's an insult, I don't like. It's, you guys got to wise up. Like, stop being led by everything. Ask some legitimate questions.
We got an important announcement for you. A damn important announcement. Sure do. The value of the American dollar is getting weaker and weaker. And don't believe Biden and his lying media.
He's a liar.
When he tell you there's no inflation.
Inflation's going crazy.
Look, you see it all around you. You got grocery bills, real estate market, gas prices, everything's going up.
Everything going up.
Yeah, it's because the strength of our dollar is going down. Just like y'all, we've been trying to find different places to put our money, keep it secure, because every day the Fed printed money.
Yeah, like
non-stop.
Like it's monopoly money.
And of course, mainstream news outlets.
Yeah, they ain't gonna talk about it.
Yeah, they're not gonna cover it. So we go to Dr. Kurt Elliott for all our economy updates.
That's a damn good white man.
Damn good white man.
That's a damn good white man.
And he's smart too.
Yeah, he is.
Dr. Kurt Elliott is a precious metals expert and has been working in the gold and silver market for over 20 years.
That's a long time. Yes. 20 years?
Yeah, that's why we partnered with Dr. Kurt. Go to HarshTwinsGold.com. Signing up is totally free, and Dr. Kurt's team of advisors will listen to all your concerns you may have about your economic future, talk you through the right plan that especially fits your needs. Go to HarshTwinsGold.com. It's not our gold. It's just our website. Go to HarshTwinsGold.com right now and secure your economic future today for you and your family.
Man, I wish I had me some gold in my basement.
Yeah.